Justice James Agbadu-Fishim of the National Industrial Court has been arraigned before Ikeja High Court over alleged corruption by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Upon appearance before Justice Raliat Adebi, Justice Agbadu-Fishim pleaded not guilty to the 19-count charge bordering on unlawful enrichment by public official, contrary to Section 82A of the Criminal Law of Lagos State. He has been granted bail on self-recognizance and as a sitting judge would be difficult for him to jump bail. He was named as one of the judges alleged to have been bribed with an aggregate sum of 4.6 million naira by 7 senior advocates of Nigeria, a Lagos-based lawyer and a law firm between 2013 and 2015. He's also one of the judges who was recently recalled from suspension by the National Judicial Council following their arrest by the DSS last year over alleged corruption. Justice Adebi has fixed trial for October 11th, 12th and the 13th, 2017. Staying with legal matters, some bank workers who were disengaged following the 2006 banking sector restructure are still in court 11 years after to seek the payment of their terminal benefits. Some of the affected workers were at the National Industrial Court in Lagos today for the hearing of the suit. The workers came to court under the aegis of the Association of Ex-Staff of Non-Consolidated Banks of Nigeria. Our judicial correspondent, Shola Shiele, has a report.
Following the 2006 banking sector restructure of the then Central Bank of Nigeria Governor Professor Charles Soludo, some affected bank workers are still in court, battling to get their terminal benefits. Some of them have formed themselves into a group, confident that they will get justice from the courts, after they alleged that the defendants, the CBN, the Nigerian Deposit Insurance Corporation (NDIC), and 4 commercial banks have neglected to address their issues.
All the promises that were made by the central bank under Soludo about settling us our terminal benefits were not met. And the promises of giving us, even for those who cared, giving small and medium scale enterprises loan for them to go on with their lives and do other things were not met till he left office. And we have been on CBN and NDIC ever since, asking that they should restitute that error. And it has not been done till date.
At the resumed hearing of the case at the National Industrial Court sitting in Lagos, their lawyer told Presiding Justice Benedict Kanu that the claimants now number about 847, and so they filed 2 applications seeking to substitute the claimant on record with all these individual claimants. They are confident that many more affected workers will join the suit as it progresses.
It is still an ongoing, action. They are announcing, they are publishing the newspaper on a daily basis that they are selling the properties of these banks. They are raising money. So what do they want to do with the money? These are part of the obligations. They need to, settle these obligations. If they are selling properties and they are making money, then the onus is on them to really settle, these are the obligations.
Lawyers to the defendants were not available for comments, but Justice Kanu has identified 2 issues which the affected workers must cross to get justice. First, whether there is a competent suit before the court for which substitution of the claimants is possible, and secondly, whether the course of action is ongoing and has not been caught up by the limitation laws as contained in the Public Officers Protection Act. Lawyers in the case are expected to address the court on these issues at the next adjourned date, which has been fixed for December 13 after the court's annual vacation. Shola Shoyeli, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, there was pandemonium at the Osun State High Court today as the former acting Vice-Chancellor of the Obafemi Awolowo University, Professor Anthony Jabba, was rearraigned in court for alleged misappropriation of funds amounting to 1.4 billion naira. His supporters were in court to show their solidarity with a man they say is being persecuted by forces against his appointment.
These huge crowd of lecturers and students are the court expecting to see Professor Anthony Jabba released to them by the court. But that did not happen as the judge remanded him in EFCC's custody to July 14th, and this sparked a protest. It was a big struggle to get the Vice-Chancellor back into the vehicle that will convey him to Ilesha prison, where he's expected to stay for another 8 days. His wife and other supporters broke into tears. His counsel are the last city filed for bail for him and the bossa of the institution. But this was vehemently opposed by the EFCC counsel, Festus Ojo, who argued that such a decision will infringe on legal procedures.
The court cannot give a bench ruling, they has to give a considered ruling. And that is why they have to adjourn the matter till next week Wednesday for ruling on our bail application. We have argued it, and that is a normal thing in court. When you argue an application before the court will adjourn for ruling.
Despite the security presence of the court, the staff and students who were accusing the EFCC and the court of conspiracy and double standards on the matter pounced on every perceived allies of the former vice-chancellor of the school, Bantele Omole, who they claim should have been arraigned following several petitions against him before the EFCC. Calls for calm by various union leaders only further infuriated the irritant crowd who had vowed to storm the Ilesha prison if they succeeded in taking the ex-VC to the prison.
Must not die in their custody. That man must live with goods and sand heads. They should release him to us. Now
we have past vice-chancellors that are meant to be pulled. They don't pull them. Why? If they prosecute this man, they prosecuted the peace of Nigeria. They prosecuted the whole of Nigeria.
In the next 3 days, Professor Nnamdi Jabba is expected to return to court, and his lawyer may again argue for his bail. But whether this sails true remains the decision of Justice David Oladimiji.
I'm going to toss it now to Gloria Mezoke in Abuja for more on the news at 10. Hi, Gloria.
Thank you, Amarachi. The acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, has approved the appointment of 19 judges for the National Industrial Court of Nigeria on the recommendation of the National Judicial Council. The judges include Mr. Tagema John Ayongi for Benue State, Namtari Mahmood for Adamawa State, Nwaneka Gerald Ikechi for Rivers State, Kado Sanusi for Katsina State, Okpeloye Ogunboali for Lagos State, and Elizabeth Oji for Ebonyi State. Others are Arowo Shegbe Olukayode Ojo for Ondo State, Ogbunaya Chukudi for Enugu State, Bashir Zainab Mohammed for Niger State, and Galadima Ibrahim Suleiman for Nasarawa State. The new judges will be sworn in by the Chief Justice of Nigeria and Chairman of the National Judicial Council, Justice Walter Onoge, on Friday, July the 14th, 2017. A federal high court sitting in Abuja has adjourned the trial of Nnamdi Kanu, the self-styled leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, to October 17. No reason was given for the adjournment, but it may not be unconnected with the fact that the federal high court has begun its annual vacation. Mr. Kanu is being tried alongside 3 others, David Nwausi, Benjamin Madubugu, and Chidiebere Onwudiwi, who were denied bail for allegedly treasonable offences. The trial was earlier scheduled to continue today after the court presided over by Justice Binta Nyako granted Mr. Kanu bail with 12 conditions attached in April. Among the conditions was a requirement for Mr. Kanu to avoid being seen in any crowd of more than 10 people. Mr. Kanu's lawyer, Ifeanyi Ejiofor, had told journalists after the court session on April 25 that his client would seek the variation of the condition relating to the number of people Mr. Kanu could be seen with in public. As the world marks the 2017 World Population Day, Nigeria has been urged to declare a national emergency on family planning and birth control. This call is coming from the United Nations Population Fund and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, who are advocating family planning and birth spacing as a means of reducing maternal mortality and the numbers of street children in Nigeria. According to the UN agency, over 20 million children, women of childbearing age in Nigeria, lack access to safe family planning methods.
Nigeria is the most populous black nation on earth, with an estimated 175 million people and counting. as experts project that the country's population will surpass 260 million by the year 2030. Population experts gathered in this hall to mark World Population Day argue that it is not about the size of the population that matters most, but rather the quality of the people produced.
Yes, it is true that the nation's population is its greatest asset. But what manner of population? What manner of population? That underscores the quality of the population we're talking about. And it is because of that quality that the issue of family planning is so important.
Assistant Country Representative of the United Nations Population Fund decries the absence of information on safe family planning methods in rural communities. He attributes Nigeria's high maternal mortality rate, estimated at about 40 million annually, to the lack of information about safe family planning and birth spacing techniques.
Fulfilling the unmet needs for family planning in Nigeria will avert about 750,000 unintended pregnancies and reduce to a third estimated 40 million annual deaths.
Meanwhile, the keynote speaker calls for the declaration of a national emergency on family planning, saying that it is the key to reducing crime in the society.
In my personal opinion, we should declare family planning as a national emergency. Family planning is essential in addressing the current fiscal and economic challenges we face, the social problems of street children and insurgency.
Experts maintain that as a country growing at an annual rate of about 3.2%, there is even greater need to deepen this campaign in Nigeria.